Getting bored easily is often misunderstood and labeled too quickly. Society tells you that constant boredom means you're unmotivated, lazy, or lack the discipline to focus. Teachers called you restless. Employers worry you won't stick around. Even you might look at yourself and think something's wrong because a task that excites you on Monday feels unbearable by Wednesday. But psychology shows the opposite is often true. If you get bored faster than most people, your brain isn't broken or deficient. It's actually operating at a processing speed that demands more complex stimulation to stay engaged. You're not failing to pay attention. You're unconsciously scanning for cognitive challenges worthy of your mental capacity. And that restlessness you've been taught to suppress? It's actually evidence of 4 rare psychological gifts that most people will never possess. Real quick, if this kind of psychology content resonates with you, subscribe and comment where you're from. It helps me keep making these deep dives into how your mind actually works. All right, let's break down what's really happening. Here's what cognitive psychology has shown us. When your brain gets bored quickly, it's not a deficit of attention, it's a surplus of processing power searching for worthy problems. Researchers call this high novelty-seeking behavior, and it correlates with specific neural patterns that create both challenges and extraordinary capabilities. These aren't weaknesses you need to fix. They're cognitive gifts you need to understand. Here are 4 ways this shows up. Gift 1. Accelerated pattern recognition. First, you possess what psychologists call accelerated pattern recognition. Your brain doesn't just process information, it devours it, extracts the underlying structure, and then demands something new. This is why you can master a new skill rapidly, understand a system within days, and then feel completely done with it, while everyone else is still struggling with the basics. Think about it. You start learning guitar, and within 2 weeks, you understand chord progressions, finger positioning, and basic music theory. Your friends are impressed. But you're already bored because your brain has mapped the pattern. It's not the guitar anymore, it's just repetition. So you move on to production software, or music theory, or a completely different instrument, and people think you lack commitment. But here's what's actually happening. Research on learning acceleration shows that individuals with high novelty-seeking behavior extract conceptual frameworks faster than average learners. You're not quitting. You're graduating. Your brain has already built the mental model it needed, and now it's hunting for the next pattern to decode. While others need months of repetition to internalize concepts, you compress that timeline because your neural networks are optimized for rapid pattern detection, not slow mastery. This is why you can walk into a new job, and within 3 weeks, you've figured out the entire operational system, spotted the inefficiencies, and you're already restless. You're not impatient, you're cognitively efficient. The gift is speed. The curse is that the world moves slower than your brain does. Gift 2. Hyper-responsive dopamine system. The second gift is something neuroscience calls a hyper-responsive dopamine reward system. Your brain releases dopamine, the neurochemical of motivation and pleasure, in response to novelty, challenge, and unpredictability. But here's the key difference. Your baseline dopamine levels drop faster than most people's once a task becomes predictable. This is why you can be obsessed with a project at 10 a.m. and completely checked out by 3 p.m. It's not ADHD, though it can look similar. It's that your brain's reward system has incredibly high standards. Routine tasks don't just bore you, they actually create a neurochemical deficit. Your brain is essentially saying, "This no longer offers learning value. Find something that does." Studies on dopamine variants show that people with this trait are overrepresented in creative fields, entrepreneurship, and innovation-driven careers. Why? Because these environments offer variable rewards and constant novelty. You're not built for assembly line predictability. You're built for environments where every day presents a new puzzle. And here's the kicker. This same system makes you incredibly good at generating creative solutions under pressure. When everyone else is grinding through standard procedures, your brain lights up when faced with the unexpected. Crisis situations, last-minute pivots, unsolved problems. These are where your dopamine system finally gets the stimulation it's been craving. You don't just tolerate chaos, you excel in it, because your reward system is finally getting fed. But the trap is this: modern work culture punishes this trait. It rewards people who can do the same task for 8 hours without complaint. So you feel defective when you're actually just mismatched with an environment designed for different brains. Gift 3. Divergent Thinking Dominance. Your third rare gift is what psychologists call divergent thinking dominance. Most people think convergently. They take information and narrow it down to one correct answer. You think divergently.
You take one piece of information and explode it into 20 possible directions, applications, and connections. This is why brainstorming sessions exhaust everyone else but energize you. It's why you can't just follow a recipe without thinking about 6 ways to modify it. It's why someone explains a business problem and your mind immediately generates 15 different solutions while they're still describing the issue. Your brain doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in networks. Research on creative cognition shows that high boredom susceptibility correlates strongly with divergent thinking ability. You get bored with single-track tasks because your brain is designed to explore multiple pathways simultaneously. When you're forced into linear work, do step A, then step B, then step C, your cognitive system feels caged. But here's where this becomes a professional superpower. Innovation doesn't come from people who follow instructions. It comes from people who ask, what if we approached this completely differently? You're the person who looks at an established industry and sees 10 ways it's inefficient. You're the one who connects ideas from architecture, biology, and software design to solve a marketing problem. That's not scattered thinking. That's synthesis at a level most people can't access. The challenge is that you need roles that reward ideation, not just execution. You need environments where your 20 ideas are assets, not distractions. And when you find that match, you become the most valuable person in the room. Gift 4. Environmental Sensitivity Advantage. The fourth gift is something researchers call environmental sensitivity advantage. You notice things other people don't. The tone shift in a conversation, the inefficiency in a workflow, the gap in a market, the subtle energy change in a room. Your boredom isn't random. It's your brain detecting that the current environment is understimulating your perceptual system. Psychology shows that people who get bored easily often have heightened sensory processing sensitivity. This means you're taking in more data from your environment than the average person. More sounds, more visual details, more social cues, more patterns. Your brain is running a constant environmental scan, and when nothing new appears, it signals boredom as a survival mechanism. Essentially, your nervous system is saying, we've extracted all available learning from this context. Time to move. This explains why you can't sit through a 3-hour meeting that repeats the same information. It's not that you're rude or disengaged. It's that your perceptual system finished processing the relevant data in the first 20 minutes, and now it's starving for new input. But here's the advantage. This same sensitivity makes you exceptionally good at reading rooms, predicting problems before they happen, and sensing opportunities others miss. You walk into a business and immediately notice what's broken. You meet someone and pick up on micro-expressions that reveal their real intentions. You're working on a project and sense it's going off track before anyone else sees the signs. That's not anxiety. That's high-fidelity environmental perception. You're receiving data at a resolution most people can't access. The integration. Why this matters. So here's what all 4 gifts create when you put them together. You have a brain that learns faster, demands novelty, thinks in networks instead of lines, and perceives environmental data at higher resolution. That combination makes you terrible at traditional jobs and extraordinary at building new things. You're not designed to be a cog in someone else's machine. You're designed to build new machines. You're not meant to follow established paths. You're meant to forge new ones. And every time you felt broken because you couldn't stick with something that bored you, you were actually experiencing a healthy brain, refusing to waste its capacity on under-stimulating work. The people who changed industries, built movements, and created entirely new fields weren't the ones who could tolerate repetition. They were the ones who got so bored with the status quo that they had to invent something different. Your boredom isn't a bug. It's a feature. It's your internal compass telling you when you're operating below your cognitive potential. Now, understanding that boredom is a gift doesn't pay your bills when you're stuck in a soul-crushing job. So here's the practical piece. You need to architect your life around variation, not stability. That might mean freelancing instead of employment. It might mean building multiple income streams instead of one career. It might mean saying no to promotions that lock you into management repetition. It definitely means protecting your access to novelty like it's oxygen. You need new projects. You need learning. You need problems that don't have established solutions. And you need to stop feeling guilty for needing these things. Your brain has specific fuel requirements. Feeding it routine and expecting it to thrive is like putting diesel in a car that needs premium gas. It's not going to work. Build seasons into your year. 3 months deep on one skill, then rotate. Create structure that allows for momentum without monotony. And surround yourself with other people who operate this way, because they'll understand that your boredom isn't rejection, it's redirection. If you recognize yourself in these 4 gifts, I want you to know something. You're not defective because you can't sit still. You're not lazy because tasks lose their appeal. You're not unfocused because your interests shift. You have a brain that was built for exploration, innovation, and complexity. The world will try to shame you into performing consistency. Don't let it. Every person who revolutionized their field was someone who got bored with how things were and couldn't stop until they'd built something new. Your restlessness is the early signal of that same drive. Stop apologizing for it. Start leveraging it. Drop a comment telling me which of these 4 gifts you recognize in yourself. And if you want more psychology that explains why your brain works the way it does, subscribe and check out my newsletter in the description. Every week, I break down the science behind traits the world misunderstands. No fluff, just research that makes you go, "Oh, that's why I'm like this." You're not broken. You're just operating on a different frequency than the people around you. And that's exactly what the world needs.